Persons who speak in public comment will be given an opportunity, wants to. No person will be allowed to speak more than once. Must be recognized by the chairperson before speaking. If physically able, all comments should be made at the podium. Comments may be made once in a courteous manner, limited to 3 minutes. That, of course. Please refrain from side conversations during the meeting or while someone is talking. Helps everybody to understand and hear. Again, public comment is designed primarily for comments, not questions. Although chairperson may grant an exception on a case-by-case situation. So anyone, after that being said, would like to speak to council, please go to the podium, state your name, address.
Mark Vogue, 1035 South Washington Street. 2 different items essentially relating to the same topic. Last session, there were blueprints, or at least a schematic drawing from Fleiss and Vandenbrink handed to all the members of the town council, and no copies for anybody for the public to see. And again, I'm asking a question, is there any reason that it should be withheld from the public? When the bridge was done, there was a public display of what the plans were. I'd like to have a copy, so I'm making a formal request, and that additional copies be available for other people. Number 2, I would have liked to have asked for that at the last meeting, but there is no vehicle for members of the community to make any statement making that request during the meeting. It would be good if there were 3 minutes at the end of the meeting for anybody having a follow-up to any topic discussed to lay in their opinion. And I would dearly love the town council to add that to the rules and regulations of public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Rebecca Shank, 385 South Washington Street. I'm going to ditto the Mark's suggestion here about adding citizen comment to the end of the meeting. This is part of the Michigan law, which is allowable, and it doesn't make sense that we should have to wait 2 weeks to comment on what goes on in the meetings. While you're talking about trees, I'll bring up again a tree that I have mentioned any number of times over the last years. The biggie devil tree at the north end of the Washington Street Park. Has dead branches, has hanging branches on wires, and it's a hazard. I would never sit at that picnic table there in that park while the wind was blowing. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki.
And if the limbs are on the wires, Mark, the electric company will take care of it. Consider it done. No, they will. I had that problem with a rental. I called them and they said, come on, cut the tree down because it was too close to the wires. The limbs were on the wires and cut the whole tree.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Do you guys approve the trick-or-treating hours tonight at this meeting, or you just go with 5 to 7?
Ooh. So not on the agenda tonight, trick-or-treat hours, and then trick-or-treat hours?
I just didn't know if you guys approved it, changed it, or anything like that.
5:30 to 7:30.
Okay, I just didn't know.
5:30 to 7:30?
Oh, 5:30. On the actual 31st.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
It's on the, put it on the electric board down there
On
already.
the sign, it's in the newsletter.
Good job. I like seeing one candy. I'm sure it's not cold.
noticed that we, not on the agenda is the consent agenda items. What's that? I'm sorry, you're right, okay. Next on the agenda is visitor presentations. This is, anyone who would like to say something, we will be talking about later on the agenda. And I'll take your time to take it. Okay, seeing none at this point. Items on the consent agenda, we did have the manager, police department, DPW reports in our packet. This wasn't on the agenda. We put that in when we approved the agenda tonight. Any questions on those?
I have a question on the police report. What is dispatch complaint? What is that?
When someone calls in to dispatch to file a complaint, when we get dispatched by them.
What's patrol complaint?
Say an officer makes a traffic stop and ends up making an arrest out of that, then we have to write a report on, so it's a patrol officer generated complaint.
That the, that would also include officer finding an open door or that sort of.
Right.
And then motorist assist.
Somebody broken down with a flat tire, out of gas.
Alright. That's it. Just always run, wondering what those were. Thank you.
Have it?
I have a couple questions for Mark. Your Zoom meetings with fiber converters, there's two of them on the 16th and the 24th. Are those regarding ink or spills or?
Those were both about, the effluent from fiber converters. We're still trying to get those issues worked out, to make sure that everybody's, the sewer that they're sending is something that we can accept at the treatment plant. And we're getting there, but there are just some things that can't be in the sewer flow, such as dyes and glue and plastic and that sort of thing.
I'm gonna say this again. I think it was a poor analysis on fleece, when we have two big companies in Constantine that do paper. They have a lot of that ink, they have a lot of whatever their process is, and for it not to be able to go down the sewer like it had for 40-some years or whatever, I think is very poor judgment on their part. On Fleece's part for not putting that in their study of what can be processed and what can't. I mean, I just think, like I said, there are two major companies in fibers that's gonna really have to watch their procedures on what they do, just in case something gets in the sewer. I mean, they've been here for a long time, and now all of a sudden, it's like,
Well, what I'm about to tell you is partly conjecture. What companies have been sending in the past, by the time it gets to Three Rivers, has been so diluted by other companies like MMPA and their huge volume of sewer and so forth, that those things weren't detected. But our plant being smaller, and accepting a lot less sewer, the things that might be in the sewer flow are gonna be detected, and that sewer that's treated, it can't be discharged to the river. So, only when everybody's in compliance can we accept sewer and discharge to the river.
so why can't the plant clean it like Three Rivers can? Even though it was diluted, it just seems like our processing should be able to handle that.
That's not the way it is.
I can tell you that in White Pigeon, in 24 years working with paper mill, the dyes that they use for their paper were never allowed to be anywhere near anything that was going out of that mill. I mean, if you dropped a tote, they went crazy. I mean, I saw guys get fired because they were too close to a drain that went not to the recycle area, I mean, they spent a lot of money to make sure those dyes were, because they're very toxic. You're not even supposed to handle those with, I mean, we had to have shields on and gloves on. I'm just saying, when it comes to that kind of stuff, if they were letting it go out, I'm surprised they haven't ever gotten in trouble for it.
They were letting it go out, every
No.
once in a while, I think they've had a spill.
Right,
They
but-
usually process it back through their system.
But there's gotta be a containment for anywhere it could spill. Like over there, you weren't even allowed to take it near the drains that went outside. I mean, you couldn't have it in the same room with the drain that went outside. You had to take it through another area and it had to be contained with walls around it all the time. So I'm surprised that they haven't been stopped before with that kind of stuff. Because, and I agree with you, it's so diluted, nobody really knew what was going out there.
Yeah.
But for us to ask them now to fix it, to me, that's on them. That should
And
be part of it.
it is in the sewer ordinance.
It is.
It is in the village sewer ordinance. Things that cannot go in there, like color and a lot of different things, so. They'll get there, but we're still working on it, and they're not the only ones. Those meetings happen to be with, fiber converters, but we've also had meetings with Ox. And when we open and start to the river, we'll be violating our license there, so.
Is there any kind of a timeline when that would happen, when you'll be ready to go?
I wish I did, I don't. I keep telling you, we're within days, literally, but it just, we keep finding things, or they keep finding things in the sewer, in the effluent that cannot be accepted. And nobody's doing it intentionally, I don't mean
I know
anybody's
that.
trying to pull
Yeah.
anything over, but.
Okay, so I just have a question. I imagine there had to have been a whole survey of the town done before a plan was constructed to create a wastewater plant, correct?
Correct.
And there has to be some kind of in place, I mean, if an accident happens and they send dye to the plant after we're running, what's the backup plan? We just shut down?
Probably, yes, I mean, we can't shut the sewer down, but we have to shut the plant down, so. I mean,
I saw like which paper get fined.
the company.
I know, and I'm just asking, do we
Like one
have,
time, it cost them almost $1 million because they put stuff out the back door at night when nobody was there.
what is our contingency plan then?
Huh?
What is our contingency plan? Do we have one, or is that for the soon-to-be director that we don't have applicants to figure out? I don't understand how we can just say that dye is going to shut everything down when, like you said, we have two major industries dependent on it.
It's because once we're off the force main, we can't go back on it, right?
Once we're off, we're off.
So, in all honesty, do they have a plan if that happens, where they have to shut, because they can only have it shut down for so long?
The plan is to eliminate their sending those things to the sewer. That's the plan.
I know. They can do it.
That might mean that you're gonna have to install their own pre-treatment before they send it to the village.
Any questions, Kathy?
Well, yeah, the dairy distillery tour,
I'm sorry,
dairy distillery tour. I heard they weren't opening until next summer, or,
Dairy Distillery doesn't have a sewer. They
no,
won't.
your tour, your dairy distillery tour. You had a tour with dairy distillery.
Oh, I'm sorry, tour. No, that was, Gary and I went on that tour, we were invited by, Dave Zaris, the chief science officer. And we did it on September the 11th, in fact,
So how is it coming along?
oh, they're operating.
They are?
They're not producing yet, but they are open and they are making product, or on the verge of making product.
What are they making?
Cheese,
They're not making cheese.
I'm sorry, ethanol,
They are.
yeah.
somebody, he either worked there or he was a truck driver, he was on the corner by my house, and I thought, who's this guy? And he says, well, I came down here to smoke, cause I can't smoke down there. And I goes, well, how's it coming along? And he goes, oh, they're got all kinds of red tape they're going through, they're not gonna open till next summer, and they're making energy drinks.
Yeah, I guess, I'm gonna have to backtrack a little bit. They're not making product yet, but they're on the verge. They expect to be open, what did they say, but late fall?
Yeah, it was in the fall, yeah. It's quite an impressive place, I'm sure they'll, at least I hope they get council tour.
Yeah, I hope
So,
so.
not, cause it is quite impressive.
Oh,
They
yeah.
did mention they were gonna bring in a couple more towers, I believe, tanks. They're right there now. I didn't see them go by. We already know.
Well, price was no object, we gave them $9 million to build it. The state and the federal government gave them money to build it, I would've built it nice too.
Canada.
There's a TV crew.
From Canada.
Okay. More comments on our consent agenda? Questions?
I do have one question. On this DPW report, all this stuff that's on the bottom here, the two columns of, is that what they do every month?
Is that what?
Is that things that they have accomplished every month? Have they done
Yeah.
all of this?
Yeah, it's not necessarily everything, or something they do every single month, but yeah, the list at the bottom are other side product, or side projects that they were doing, so.
So they do all this stuff every month?
All different,
Well, not every month.
It changes every time. Every
This is
time
what
it's
they did
different.
that month.
This is this month?
Yeah.
Cause then you gotta mow the side streets in January.
Really?
This one has a few more things on it because Marcus is going into railroad things up. So he probably included some things that are so routine that Marcus doesn't necessarily include, you know.
Any other questions on the consent agenda? Not, I believe we have a motion then to, no, we need a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Motion by trustee Dennis, supported by trustee King to approve the items on the consent agenda as presented. Comments, questions? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. I'm gonna go page 38, and this is we'll start with the village manager search. And Mark, do you have anything to say before we introduce Mr. Montrager, or?
I don't know what the preference would be if Javon Trader wants to talk first. All I have are some notes to support, either replacing the position with a new village manager or, some other concept, but I don't know, Mr. Montrager,
Sir.
I think it might be better if you start.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure that council will be honored. Good evening. My name is Dave Blanchard, and I'm not Santa Claus. I'm undercover working with the police department to look for evil elves in town. So we're. No, I just first of all, the questions you have for me. You know, I'm came here hopefully to prepare to. Please let me know what your thoughts are and what you're looking for, and quiz me good on whether or not I can help.
Could you give us your background?
Sure. Grew up in Alberta County, Goshen. Did a number of things throughout the years. I went in the United States Marine Corps, got all meritorious promotions, up through sergeant. I've done a number of things in leadership. I was on the national board of directors for the Fellowship of Christian Peace Officers USA. I just finished a stint as president of the International Conference of Police Chaplains, International Corporation, 4,000 chaplains in 14 nations. Had 2 years as vice president, 2 years as president-elect, 2 years as president, now I'm immediate past president. Leading outreach to law enforcement across the country where we have 400 or so volunteers. I've run a nonprofit organization, work with inner city kids. I've senior chaplain with the Elkhart Police Department, ran a whole staff of chaplains. I have extensive leadership experience and I'm privileged to receive some awards along the way. So that's kind of it. So my big heart cry is just to try to, public service for me is a big deal. You know, I think for me, you know, the reality gets to be is everybody, all of us in this room, just owe the citizens of Constantine just our very best effort to do everything in the most effective, efficient means possible. And my heart cries to see, I've had some pretty serious experience on this, helping to make good, better, better, best. And so that's kind of my background.
Questions?
Appreciate it. Give Don a thank you for starting this, and this is a very, very professional, better procedure, however, whatever you wanna say that he has written up about what we're looking for someone to come in and reevaluate.
Sure. Well, I think, you know, if you'd like me to address that, I would love to give you some thoughts on that, just so you can kind of see my perspective.
Would you like to see this?
I've seen it actually.
You have?
Yeah,
Okay,
I did,
good.
so, no, I appreciate it very much. You know, the reality gets to be, folks, is we're in a different world than we were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and with technology changes and everything that's going on, you know, it's always good to reevaluate and see where we are. I took an organization that started, we began back in 1973, international organization. So what worked for us in 1973 doesn't work as much anymore. We have a whole different demographic of individuals we're dealing with. Technology's taken a big leap. Spearheaded a $250,000 tech investment that went in there and just radically transformed the whole organization, brought us up to speed. And so I say that to say that, you know, I think it's a healthy sense just to build off the foundation that's been laid. And some of the things I look at it all, if I was going to identify a process that goes along with that, I'd say number one, that, you know, a fresh assessment, all the essential services that we're carrying out for the village is, you know, a good thing. Then to turn around and identify and interview all responsible parties overseeing the conducting of services to include the following elements. Number one, just job descriptions, are they up to date? Do we have policies, procedures, and accountability measures in place? You know, the big thing I see in leadership is we're trying to achieve a mission, number one. But number two, we're trying to make sure that the individuals we have tasked with that mission have the tools, training, and equipment to be successful, and the proper supervision to make sure that they keep doing that in an efficient way. You know, we review the current time commitment for the conducting of those activities. You know, what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What needs shored up? What are our frustrations? What are suggestions from our employees? You know, is there an overlap of duties, just to make sure there's some efficiency there? Are there gaps in services that need strengthening? You know, is there stuff that we're overlooking? Is there adequate supervision, and those entrusted with supervision, are they supervising those under their care? You know, I think another important element is we have stakeholders in the community. At the end of the day, you know, keeping those who have businesses there, everything else, you know, just having a good working relationship with them because we're dependent upon them, and just to see where they're at and a fresh new vision of that. Same thing with our fiscal position, you know, where we have budget versus actual, where we are with our revenue streams generated versus our expenditures, you know. Do we have outstanding debt? What are some things we can look at? And I think another element too is just reviewing technology. You know, there's so many things that we can do now. You know, young lady I'm watching right there, and she's using AI there. It's typing out the minutes for this whole meeting. Well, there's so many different things like that. Sometimes we can have an efficiency if we understand the tools at hand. And so I have fresh vision on that. So I say that to say I totally appreciate that document. Sir, you put a lot of work into that, and I'm 100% on board. And my heart would be to try to just get to know everybody in this village, to hear their heart cry, to see what they're doing, to evaluate and say, okay, where are we at in the year 2025, going into 26, and is there things we can do to make good, better, and better best?
My goal in doing this was, if we're gonna hire a manager, if we determine that we need a manager, what do we need in a manager? Because it would be hard for me to interview a manager when, in all honesty, I don't know what Mark's job entails totally. Does anybody here know everything he does? A couple of you that met, how long you been here?
25 years.
Exactly. Right, what happens when you're gone in a few years? The younger, we need to be able to say, we need a manager that can handle this, this, and this. And we don't even know what this, and this is right now. And I'm sure there's things that Mark can do in his sleep that some other people might not be able to do. I'm sure there is, he's done it forever. I mean, it's like coaching football. I can coach football in my sleep, because I've done it so long. But it would take me a long time for me to explain it to you if you've never done it. And that's what I want. I want to see if there's a way to make things more efficient, and I want to see if there's a way financially going forward with all the money that we've spent to make our budget better and budget our money better. Because sooner or later, we're gonna run out. And we still have a lot of needs. We still have water meters, we still have, to finish the fire station and all that stuff. There's a lot of things that this town needs, in my opinion, that we need to look at. So I think this is the best way to evaluate how our small government is run and get a recommendation from, he has no tie to any of us, so he makes a recommendation. We don't have to go with what he says, but at least we take the time to get the recommendation. And we can say to the people in the village, if we have to spend $150,000 a year for a manager, we have no choice, this is what we had to do. But we can say we honestly made an effort to see what we had to do. And that's why I did this, so.
Sir, well, if I could add something to that, I think sometimes, it's my understanding, at least what I've seen in the document and the discussion I've seen here is, I think there's far more at stake than just what the village manager does. I think it's just a real reassessment of everything that we're trying to pull off at this season. This is a whole new world again, And so it's no reflection on anything that's brought at this point. It's just simply a healthy, I think in a real healthy organization, you're doing a yearly review to make sure there's nothing you can't tweak to make better. I mean, my heart in the whole thing is I believe as public servants, we're on behalf of the village here, and we owe it to the village to do everything the best we can do. And that's the whole point of each of you giving your time to come in here. We're trying to be the best version of us we can be, and I can look back on my life, and I'm on a continual growth pattern myself. I don't know everything, and I'm learning stuff, and I always try to be a better. I got a kind of a joke here. In my own life, my personal motto is try harder and suck less, So, and then I say that jokingly, but it's try to be a better version. I think it's the same thing for us. We look at everything across the board. What I would bring to you is just the ability to be an objective. I don't know any, I have no ties here at all, or at least as far as the village, as far as anything I do know Dan from our police outreach and stuff like that, and he's been a good friend, but my heart would be to come in here and just give you a neutral evaluation of what's going on, keep you abreast of what's going on, and say, okay, I just came in, talked to individuals, here's what I see as their strengths, here's our weaknesses, here's area we can make good, better, best, and then how do we build off of that and try to streamline things to be as effective as we can be for the citizens, so.
I think that's exactly what we need at this time. We have, and I'm not trying to be negative or anything, but we have people in this town that thinks that there's no transparency to what's going on, and there's things going on behind closed doors, and there's not. But we need that transparency to people to really believe in the village and what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, I would like to see it too. I mean, my strength's relationships. So, what I would like to try to be is someone where we can entertain everyone. Because at the end of the day, this young man and young woman here and what they said, I believe there's a certain element of that we look and say, okay, is there a way to facilitate that concern and just help out? And, I think building engagement, what I found, at least in my work, even in Elkhart, is sometimes the individuals who have the biggest concerns sometimes have a gift in there they want to bring to the whole equation to help serve. They see a glaring need, and I think it's just wise for all of us to try to listen and see if there's anything we do, have an honest dialogue with the community, say this is why we do what we do, and then to help them to see that our heart's in the right place.
How long will this take for you to do all the interviews?
Well, my guess is he said in the document there a 60-day window. I would think I'd have really good grasp. Obviously, I'd keep you all up to date on, every meeting here on the progress. But, I would really like to work with Mr. Hunt. He said just to, hear his heart cry, here's what he shared with, things like that. And then, just get a feeling of sitting down with everybody. And, I would like to think that we'd have a pretty good understanding of what's going on here in 2 months of everything. Because I have to get kind of up to speed on the way you all do everything. And I'm confident I can do that. But 68 windows, what we're looking at initially here, somewhere around there, so.
I would suggest that we do a 60-day review, and at the end of 60 days, if he needs to extend it for something, then we extend it, 30 days at a time or something. We really, I personally think 60 days should be enough time to do what we want him to do. But
If we bring in another new manager, Mark's gotta have time to work with him.
I agree with that.
Definitely.
I agree
We
with that.
talked about that.
But the other side of that is, I can't honestly sit here and interview a guy when I don't even know what he's gonna do, what his weaks and strengths are. He can sit here and sell me all day that I know what I'm doing as a manager, but he doesn't know what he has to do in our village, because not every village is the same. I mean, an example of that is Mark put some stuff in our document about, managers are needed basically for villages our size, okay? Now, he compared us to White Pigeon. They have a treatment plant. Well, this place doesn't have a treatment plant, okay? I agree with that, but if I look at White Pigeon, for example, they have 2 DPW workers. They cut trees, they pour sidewalks, they do a lot of the services that we spend money on. And that's something we need to look at. They have 4 guys, they have 2. They do twice as much as us. And their villages we're not that different size-wise. I mean, maybe people-wise, but does the DPW really, except reading meters, they don't deal with each house. They deal with the size of the village, and White Pigeon's about the same size as us.
And in 10 years, who's looked better or looked worse?
I mean, I lived here my whole life, and I can tell you, the village used to look a lot better than it does now. And part of that is, the DPW used to do a lot more stuff than they do now. They did. And that's something that needs to be evaluated. We spend a lot more money on DPW employees than White Pigeon does, but they do more. And that's, to me, that's a problem. And again, that's not on Mark. That's on, nobody's saying, there's 20 things on this list and you guys should be doing 18 of them. Because nobody's ever really looked at that and said, an outside person that can sit down with Marcus and say, okay, tell me what your job entails. And then look at what we're actually paying for on the other side of that they don't do. Well, why can't you guys? An example, don't we maintain Marcus's license as a mechanic? Don't we have to maintain, he has to maintain that, right?
I couldn't tell you that for sure. We do maintain his licenses as an operator.
Right, because other villages, they change the oil in their police cars. We're paying an outside person to do that. They maintain the fleet. Well, our police cars are part of the fleet for the village. I just think there's a lot of opportunity to save money on a lot of simple things that, listen, when I got on this council, I was shocked at how much money we spent on what we have to do to run the village. I was shocked. But then I see a lot of things that I think, why can't we do that? We have a backhoe. Why are we paying $7,000 for somebody to fix a pipe when we can dig it up and fix it ourselves? There's not a lot to fix in a pipe. I've done it many times.
And that's one thing I'd offer too, is I have a pretty extensive, I've worked in construction 17 years, so I've done all aspects of building houses and been involved in a lot of different projects, so I got a fundamental understanding of mechanics. But I think that, to Mr. Honey said, sometimes the tyranny of the urgent, which he can tell you is busy doing stuff all the time, and sometimes something like this gives you an opportunity to have somebody come in alongside you there and help. One of the hardest things gets to be, I don't know about you guys, but one of the things that's hard for me getting older is I learn a lot and nobody cares, And so, just to try to take what I've learned over time and codify it and get it out there and say, okay, how can we make that applicable to the next generation and what we're trying to pull off here, And I think that's one of the things, working together with him, I think, I'm confident we could, really give him a little extra wiggle room so we could try to figure that going forward, so.
And I don't know what we need either. I just know there's towns like Colin who, they have more DPW workers than we do. They have their own water treatment plant, and their DPW is in charge of both of those. Now, they do, if we need to get more DPW workers, to make it happen, I don't think that's a bad thing, I just think we've gotta figure it out.
Well, I think there's collaborative partnerships and stuff like that. You know, you guys mentioned something a little bit ago I thought was a key point. The question gets to be is, you know, do you have municipalities around there or even your plant down the road here? You know, is there shared responsibilities we can have that save us money as a village by, you know, working together to say, hey, you know, can we cover half the salary? You take care of our supervision, we take care of your supervision. Or there's, you know, there's a lot of things we can explore too, you know, just to see if there's
We
opportunities.
have benefited tremendously so far from combining with Centerville. Maybe we could combine with somebody else for a manager's position or a superintendent's position. That's all I'm asking. And again, at the end of the day, it takes 4 people on this council to make that decision. It's not just, I just wanna know what I need to decide, that's all. And again, I've said this repeatedly, I'm not questioning Mark, I'm not questioning what he's done. I think he's done a good job, he's served the village for 20 years. He's done it as a police chief, he's done it as a manager. And I'm not trying to say he's ever done anything wrong, I don't agree with every decision, but I just wanna hear from somebody independently what we need. And then it's for everybody to decide.
Well, I've been on this council for 111 years, and I have yet to interview for a village manager. Now, Mark came in while I was on the council, but that was kind of a transition. As a lot of you know, I've been appointed about 6 times and elected, well, anyway. I would like, if I'm going to do an interview of anyone to be a village manager, I have no idea what to, I don't know what to ask.
Yeah.
That's why I think we need an evaluation to at least give the ones that are interviewing some guidelines and what we need in a manager. Not just say, okay, let's get a manager and run the town. It's not that simple. We gotta have a manager or an administrator or whatever that knows what the town has to have. And then interview accordingly. So I would like, that's the reason I go for the evaluation, because I'd like a little guidance on what, not just a piece of paper says, okay, question 1, question 2, question 3. I need some guidance to interview someone for our manager, not for White Pigeons or how Colin runs it or anybody else, or if we even have to have a full-time. I don't know. I'm like Don, I would like to know what direction we have to go, because our expenses, I agree, are pretty high.
Well, and one thing that scared me the most about that guy that came in and talked about it, if you're gonna get a manager, you're gonna have to spend 120, 130.
Right.
Can we afford that?
Nope, can't afford it. But
I mean, cause we're
we
gonna
have to.
I mean, we're adding on the blue salary, now we're gonna have to pay a superintendent to run that, and somebody to help him run that. It just keeps adding up. So let's just look at, you know, can the DPW superintendent be in charge of the water treatment plant? I don't know, can he?
He is.
I mean, so then why do we need to hire a superintendent? That's
No, yeah, you said water.
No, I'm talking about, can
If you're
he?
talking sewer treatment.
Right.
Our people they do not have the licenses to do that.
Right, so is it better for us to keep trying to look for somebody and pay and fleece something, or get them the licenses so he can be in charge?
Well, I don't know how long it would take to get.
I don't either.
Sewer licenses, I think it would take a while.
But Mark, we haven't had anybody ask, even anybody interested in that job.
The ultimate goal would be to have our own people running it, at least in my opinion.
I agree.
Not necessarily anybody we have on board here, because I think it would take too long to get the licenses as they need. But, yeah, that was my goal. In fact, the last time we sent out 48 requests for applications, and nada.
I believe that we've done everything we can to get somebody. But I think in talking to some people, I think the stopping point is what we wanna pay them. These guys wanna make a lot more money. than what we're willing to pay right now.
That might be the case in some cases, but what we didn't even, there was no salary indicated. We just asked people to apply. So, I don't think it was the salary thought that gave pause. I don't know what did.
Eric.
I just think that we're a
He
small
said conflict
community.
of interest.
You work in the industry, doing what that guy was doing.
Yes. for
What's it gonna
American
cost
Excellence,
us?
hired to do that.
Ballpark,
What which guy was doing?
what he works in that industry. What I'm saying is, what does the average superintendent make for doing that kind of work? Just ballpark.
100 to 130.
And an assistant. I mean,
Maybe
that,
90, if,
that's,
Maybe 90 for the assistant, or?
no, maybe 90 if he's just in charge and not director / laborer. But a lot of them are working directors. They're not just sign your name and I'm in charge.
What I think the thing gets to be too is, the question gets to be at the end of the day too is there other cost saving measures we can do, to your point about hiring stuff out, doing a local in-house? My personal experience is oftentimes, in any organization, the tyranny of the urgent always gets you, because you're just busy trying to put out fires and everything else. And so, to have the wiggle room to try to come in, reevaluate, make the necessary, play changes to implement stuff is, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about just getting some breathing room so we can make an assessment. You guys happen to catch me at a time right now that I don't know how long, I'm not saying this, I'm just saying it just happened to catch me at a time where I'm making a transition off a president and things like that, and like I said, Dan's a good friend in that sense, and I'd be willing to help, I'd be willing to help out, because you guys are right down the road from me. I live in Middlebury, so I'm just 15 minutes away, and so my heart's to, I believe in public service. I've been serving others for my whole life here, and so, anything I can do to encourage them.
How would you identify or figure out what a said job description would be, or what encompasses that?
Sure. Well, that's why we interview the individual. So, number one, we're trying, I start with the 50,000 foot view. I think sometimes we miss the big picture. What are we trying to do? For what are essential services? To your point about money a little bit ago, you made a comment, we can't fund everything, obviously. What are the essential services? So we identify the essential services we're providing for our constituents. And then the second thing we do is we turn around and say, okay, who is it we've tasked to be over these respective parts? And what is it exactly do they do? Can you show me with a timesheet what your time investment is, are you being efficient with your time? Because maybe you guys can correct me from what I hear this conversation, you're not even sure if the respective employees in the town are what they're doing exactly, and if they're being efficient with the use of their times. We're just making certain assumptions here. And I'm not saying they're not, I'm saying that's part of the evaluation. My experience is individuals, oftentimes, if you don't have clear-cut guidelines and a clear, efficient process, and if you're not supervising, then human nature is to kind of slack sometimes,
Yeah.
And, I'm a jarhead, so I like taking the hill. My big deal that gets me is I like things run like clockwork if we can do it. And, I took our organization and we went from, to give you an idea, like I said, 50 years, but we had an executive director, had 23 years on. She popped smoke and left, and left us with a whole giant mess of something that was falling apart technology-wise and everything. We were stationed in Destin, Florida. So we made a transition. We had to reinvent the whole organization, put all new tech platforms, move to Casa Grande, Arizona, reinvent the whole wheel in a sense. But we got done. We had something that was taking the hill, and things were going beautiful, And so I don't see it any different. It's just it's not a reflection on anything that's happened at this point in time. It's 2025. We have to look at where we are in history and time and make sure the way we've been doing it is the best way to do it.
I don't wanna reinvent the wheel, I just want the wheel to run as smooth as possible.
Sure. Well, you get gas, miles per gallon's a lot better that way.
Consistency would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, consistency is everything, and so, anyway, that's, I'm more than happy to entertain anything in any way, but I just wanted to kind of share, there's a season where it may be a win-win situation for both of us, and that's something you're interested in. I'd love to talk to you further, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of idea who I was and how I could possibly help with the whole cause, and please feel free to, dialogue about further in any way you want, so.
do we need a motion to approve this and continue?
I think it would be appropriate.
I would make a motion that we,
But before you say that,
We didn't,
do we need like to negotiate a cost contract or something before we move forward?
Approve it, yeah.
Right.
Good point.
that was free.
I mean, we're not gonna do it for free. I don't blame you, I wouldn't do it for free.
Well, he can do it for free, it's a lot of training.
Well, but I think to his point though, too, what I would caution, once again, this is once again process, but I would encourage you to spell out exactly what you're looking for. I mean, this is, if we're gonna start this process in an efficient way, then you guys would lay out exactly what we're looking for. And I'm more than glad to work with you on that description, just to kind of help out with that. But my suggestion would say, okay, this is what we're trying to do, and we can negotiate a salary price point on that, I'm not, I'm not a cheap date, but I'm not expensive too. I'm not here to soak you. I'm here to try to survive and live in my world, So I would be more than willing to sit down with you guys, figure out what we want to do, come on a mutual agreement, and then set a price point that is tolerable and can help out with the cause. And so, whether you want an action on just sitting down and doing that or something else.
would you look at similar towns, size, lagoon, all that, and compare what they have to
Absolutely.
figure
I went
out?
to the Centerville Town Council tonight in anticipation for this one. I went to their meeting. I went to their meeting just to ask questions. I got the card of the lady right there that took the initiative. Okay, my style is not that, I go around and look for what's working, I got her card right here, so I can sit here and quiz her and ask her how they're doing stuff. I talked to the president tonight, talked to a number of individuals, and that's my style. My style is to go around, find comparable, and find out what they're doing, because, once again, if something's working, it's like my marriage once upon a time, if somebody's married, held together for 50 years and they still loved each other, I'm like, I'm all ears, teach me how to do this.
Right, okay.
It's easy barrier in the back, yes.
We made a motion that we wanna move forward and sit down with him and discuss his duties and what it's gonna cost.
So you need more of a comprehensive list of exactly what we're looking for.
Well, I'm trying to help you be successful, okay? If you're bringing me on to help you be successful, the first step in being successful is you're the village leaders. And I will be glad to help give you free counsel on writing out something to tell me what I need to do so we can see if it's gonna work out, okay? So that's my point. I want you to be successful, but I would think it'd be a disservice to you to just go and do something right now, because that's maybe not the best course of action. I think we sit down and say, this would be beautiful for us to have as council members, okay? And then we both mutually agree on it, we can talk about a price point that's mutually, agreeable, and I can assure you it'll be reasonable, okay? I'm not looking for $100,000 a year or something, okay? I'm looking at this interim time just to try to help you guys out and help my family to survive in the meanwhile, okay?
We can either offer like a 60-day or hourly, because we don't know how many hours he's gonna put into it, what it's gonna take. I don't know how the most efficient way.
A lot, and it sounds like he's already taken the initiative to start doing it, so I think we should move forward personally.
But move forward as have them come in and evaluate everyone and do a complete evaluation of the whole process.
Well, if it's an evaluation to find our efficiency, that's what's gonna have to happen.
And make suggestions.
Based on our needs.
Make suggestions on making it more efficient. Or ultimately, you could probably run it this way and be efficient, or run it this way and be a little more efficient. That's what I want.
Well, I think it's a feedback to you, to come in there and say, listen, you're the leaders of this village, and so I want to give you the tools to be successful by letting you know, here's a thumbnail sketch of the way I see everything, and here's where our strengths are, here's where areas we can make stronger,
Yes.
and here's some suggestions on how we might make that happen, and you get to make the decisions, but you get to make an armed decision because you got some information to work with, Sounds like at this point in time that, there's not a full understanding of what you have to work with, so.
I agree.
Well, thank you for your time, appreciate
Can I
it.
ask, what is your hourly rate, or?
Well, my hourly rate, I would rather do it on a salary basis simply by virtue of, I can assure you, I do due diligence in that, I'm gonna put a full-time effort into it, But I would be willing to do it, and this is once again, just to try it out, I'd be willing to do it for, $6,000 a month, which is just covering my cost of living and health insurance, and so that's lowball cheap, that it's also helping out for 2 months to help you guys out, and, you know, maybe mileage included on that or something like that, but you know, for me, that's reasonable.
I'll probably do a lot more than that.
Well, that's what I'm telling you, okay, and I'm just saying for that first 2 months, and that's simply by virtue of your neighbors, and I'm trying to sincerely help them, so I'm doing it hopefully you can sense a service to the community to try to be a blessing, because I understand that, but I gotta live too, you know, so that's kind of where I'm at.
So do we want to have him come up with a plan on how he's gonna do it? Doesn't that make the most sense? Give us an outline of how you wanna do it.
I'd be glad to do that.
An overall assessment of everything.
Right, and then we can kinda add to it if we.
Yeah, you can tweak it, I'm more than glad to give you a preliminary proposal that comes in, as you can tell, I already started writing it up, so it's like, you know, I'm glad to do that and what that would look like, and, you know, I would like to come in here, and part of this gets to be is just to get to know everybody here, you know, how do you guys do things around here? Because to me, it's real simple, you know, I look at it and I say, this is not rocket science, it's number one, we're providing services. Number two, how are we doing it? Are we doing the most efficient, effective way? And number three, do we have an evaluation process that we continue to look to make sure we're doing the best practices year after year, you know? And that's, you know, that's what it looks like from my perspective.
Maybe another thing that we might be able to do is get his email, and each one of us email him our concerns.
Yeah,
On what we think might help make it more efficient.
and I'll write up a whole description with that, I'm glad to do that.
Then he could use that and say, okay, here's, I think the best course of action. Because everybody sitting here, whether they want to admit it or not, they do have some concern on how things are done and what they think can make it better. Huh?
Everybody has their own thoughts on it.
Right.
You know, we have another meeting in 2 weeks, did I give you, would you have a chance to write up some questions and send to us too? Is that possible?
Sure.
Things that you would want to know.
Yeah, my only challenge at this point in time right now, until after November 1st, is I'm going to New York State Sheriff's Association all next week to train them all week long, okay? So that's my only challenge in that, you know, if I can, in 2 weeks I can give it my best shot, but it's may or may not happen based on the fact I'm out of town, but, yeah, you know, at maximum I could, you know, the following 2 weeks after, so I could get you a whole bit of, good enough plan on that whole project, but, yeah, I'll give you guys, matter of fact, I'll give you a business card, and you can, email me.
Appreciate it.
Now, how much time will you need off during your Christmas duties?
I'm actually, yeah, you don't have to worry about that, that's a long story, I won't even. Okay, I'll be honest with you guys, since you're trying to know what you're getting into. You know why I grew this beard? They were playing that song last year at Christmas time, I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus, and I didn't want my kids to think she was cheating on me.
I tried that, it didn't work.
Which part?
None of them. What do you think, I buried her in the backyard?
I like the idea, I like the approach we're taking, anybody disagree? I said, I like the approach we're taking, I think it's a good way to start it.
I think,
That's a good way to go.
All right,
So I guess we think he's the guy for the job?
yeah.
I
Okay.
think so.
Do we need to make a motion for that? Saying that,
Sure, go ahead, I mean, why not?
well, I mean,
I mean,
just,
we don't need money at that.
right. So I make a motion that we use, what's your name again?
Jim Bontrager.
Jim Bontrager to do the evaluation of the village operation.
I'll support that, if somebody hasn't.
Okay, Don King, in motion, seconded by Gary Mathers to, work with, Washington, Jim Bontrager in order to get a proposal to work with us on our, sewage plan.
No,
The motion that we use Jim Bontrager to evaluate the village operations.
there you go.
There you go. That makes too much of it. All right, any discussion, questions? Do a voicemail? All in favor, say yes?
Yes.
Yes, those say no? Okay, that carries. Thank you for that information you did.
I was trying to miss a second.
Okay, what do we got next? Your zoning change application, page 51 in your packet.
You have an application in your packet from Larry Piper asking to rezone the property at 575 East Water from industrial to, actually from residential to industrial. You'll probably recall that a few years ago, the reverse happened. It was industrial originally, and there was a gentleman who purchased the property and wanted to build a home on it, and those plans fell through. Well, now Mr. Piper wants to place warehouses, a warehouse or warehouses there, and the appropriate zoning for that would be industrial. So I think we covered everything else. In order to do that, or if I have your permission, I will make an announcement of a public hearing for that purpose. It would go in the paper on this coming Friday, which is the 24th. And it has to be
October, not May.
There has to be, gee, oh Pete.
So it'll be Friday the 25th?
Oh, wait, yes, for October the 24th, and there has to be 15 days notice, so you wouldn't be able to actually hold the public hearing until 2 meetings from tonight, so that would be the, no, actually a little bit longer than that. You wouldn't have to be able to hold the public hearing until November the 17th. So with your permission, I will consider the application for rezoning. I will put it in the newspaper on Friday and announce that the public hearing will happen on November the 17th.
Can I make one comment?
Yeah.
Mark? It's the northwest corner, not the northeast corner of Hall and Water.
Yep.
Because our building is the north.
You're correct. I'm not gonna argue with you. You didn't
Well,
have to say, you didn't have to say it in front of everybody.
I gotta be worried about it, because no, our building's at the northeast corner.
I got the address right and I got the parcel number right. So now,
I make a motion, we schedule a public hearing to consider the variance.
Support.
Kathy, you should abstain.
Okay, now came in motion to post notice in the Three Rivers Commercial News about property at 575 East Water Street, supported by David Denman. Any other questions, comments? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries, and we'll schedule it.
I abstain, I can't vote.
Okay.
I'll vote twice for Kathy.
Thank you.
That vote is 6-0.
Got it.
Shouldn't you put in there that she abstained?
She's gonna.
I'm just asking. Some people don't, some people forget stuff.
I did it for you when you did it on the.
Evaluate her and get rid of her.
Don't make her repent.
Not that one.
Not that one.
All right, well, I believe that concludes everything that we have on our schedule for tonight.
I have one comment. I did get a hold of Three Rivers about that charge on our water bill or sewer bill. Remember I asked about it last week, why they were different? 2 months, one was 6 something, one was 8 something. Well, September is gonna be 9 something because of the milk plant, not sending their stuff there anymore. So seeing how it's less volume, we're being billed more.
Surprise.
Yeah.
There's there's no notice of that or anything? Wouldn't they have to give a notice?
I don't think we have a contract.
We don't have a contract with
They just, oh,
That's the reason we need to get away from it.
nice.
Alright, that concludes our business for tonight, so we will adjourn at 8:00.